Hey YouTube, good morning. This is 6200 back again with another video. And in this quick talk, I wanted to touch on actually someone else's video, but I'm not going to stitch it. So this is what I'm doing is actually expanding on a comment that I left under a YouTuber who goes by the name of Rachel Sloan. She is a at least self-titled divorce coach for men. And in her video, she said something that I thought was just wrong. She said a lot of times men end up getting divorced because men don't understand that they have to provide more than basically resources, more than time and money and all that stuff. Here's the deal. Is it true that you have to provide more than money, more than protection? Yes. Every man and woman has to provide more than what they are basically wired or built to provide the other person. That's not really why men get divorced. It's just not. And this isn't to attack her or to put her down. That's one of the reasons why I'm not stitching anything. But the comment that I left was from a man's perspective, my perspective specifically. And I told her, and I addressed her directly, that what she said was actually incorrect. And in fact, the way in which men show that we care about our woman, right? Our woman, the woman that we love, the woman that we choose to be with, is to provide and to protect for her, because we are externally driven creatures while women are internally driven creatures. So our women are more emotional and we're less emotional, and that's why we're a lot more logical, because we take into account what the environment has to offer. What are we dealing with, right? We take these factors almost in a cold way and make a calculated decision based on whether something's going to be more of a challenge or it's going to be more advantageous to us, right? Without our emotions getting as caught up as, say, our female counterparts. And this is not good, it's not bad, it's just the way it is. It's the way we're designed. But in any case, so after I left the comment, a couple of other people chimed in, and they added theirs on. There's always someone's gonna draw attention to the fact that women are just not as accountable. And yes, while that's true, there's a reason. Again, they're internal creatures, right? So they're ruled more so by their emotions as opposed to their logic, right? If you are ruled by your emotions, you're not going to raise your hand to say and to admit to, especially an audience, that you are at fault for something, because you don't want to feel bad. If you're ruled by your emotions, effectively you want to feel good pretty much all the time, and you look for reasons to justify that. That is actually, in my opinion, one of the primary reasons as to why women divorce men. It's not really because of things that are tangible, even if they play a role in it. I think one of the primary reasons that women divorce men is actually because of a loss of feeling, right? They're missing this emotion that they haven't felt in a while, and which is normal. You're not supposed to feel exactly the same way that you felt, let's say, when you first met the person, when you were, dating, and you had the butterflies in your stomach. It's going to change. And from what I observe, the population of women, especially today in the Western world, is far more attached and addicted to the dopamine release and the oxytocin release that you derive from short-term interactions as opposed to long-term. That's actually why I think a lot of divorces are happening more so these days as opposed to older times. In any case, I thought I would dive in a little bit more, and this is all off the cuff, by the way, a little bit more into why there's this disconnect. Now, Miss or Mrs. Sloan, she's a woman, and as such, she's subject to her bias. And when she made the comment that She observed a lot of men not necessarily understanding how to, you know, give and take internally, emotionally. That's when I knew right away that, you know, her analysis and assessment was off. A lot of modern therapy is all female based. It's feminine. It has a feminine approach. It has feminine foundations, because it's really more dealing with the emotion behind a situation, a decision, words, actions. It doesn't deal with the problem. For example, if I don't know, I walk outside tomorrow and there's a huge hole in my, backyard, right? I don't know how I got there. Now, the emotion that I'm going to feel about that hole is going to be anger, right? But from my perspective, what would be the point of talking to the therapist about the hole? I don't need to manage through my emotion about it. What I need is the hole gone. And that means I'm going to look for a solution to getting rid of my problem, which is the hole, right? If I was a woman, that's me as a man. If I was a woman, I would probably be really upset and be far more angry about the fact that this just happened to me, and now I feel victimized, and I'm going to keep re-victimizing myself, right? And this is how a lot of women end up in therapy, and how a lot of women end up recommending therapy to men, because the assumption is we think the exact same way. And we just know we do not think the exact same way. Men and women are completely different animals. And because we need to be attracted to each other, because we require different things from one another. That is the natural order. So I just found it very off-putting, and somewhat disturbing, to be honest with you, that an adult woman who is a self-described divorce coach for men doesn't understand the nature of men. This is precisely why therapy does not work, especially for men. Modern day therapy does not work for men. I would even argue, I'd take it a step further, and I would even argue it really doesn't work that well for women either, because it's still not going to solve the woman's problem. It gets her to open up. It provides a space for anyone to talk about an issue, and to, I guess, kind of sit there and stew in it, so to speak, and mourn it. But it, at the end of the day, it just does not solve the problem. So I'm not saying that there's no value in it. What I am saying is, I think we need to recalibrate what therapy is and what it's not, right? And who it's for and who it's not for. Because what we do is we tend to just throw it around and say, oh, go to therapy, go do this, go do that. And the fallout from that is it's left a lot of, especially men, confused, because, again, our nature, the way in which we communicate, what we value, our place, our thoughts, our mind frame, our mindsets, none of these things is taken into account, which already, when you have the wrong inputs, you're gonna, have the wrong output. That's just science. That's just mathematics, right? So there was another commenter who followed up, and asked, quite frankly, and I'm not an expert, but I'm just a grown man, who is in a 10-year marriage and has children, and I have my lived experiences, right? And he just asked for, I guess, my opinion or insight a little bit more into the topic, because apparently he's divorced, or his ex left him. And here's what I honestly can say, especially when it comes to how women pretty much tend to process their emotions. The reason as to what I've found is that women have a much easier time leaving, and they can even pretend, right? They can pretend to not care about the outcome of the relationship or the failure of the relationship or the man's feelings. The reason as to why they can do that is because they've already mourned, they've already gone through the emotional turmoil of the failure in their own mind and heart. So again, they're internal. A woman can, and this is a real story, a woman can literally laugh and giggle with you and be with you for whatever amount of time. Let's just say a couple weeks. It's like whirlwind, whatever, romance, right? And the very next day, she can literally look at you like you're the ops, and she can want your head all gone. Like she can want to take your head off. They have an uncanny ability to create narratives in their mind based on how they feel. If they feel slighted, ignored, disrespected, lied to, a woman can come up with an entire narrative in her mind and essentially codify that narrative mentally, and then emotionally she can codify it. Or I should say it's codified emotionally first, then mentally, because that's where the narrative comes from. The emotion happens first, so she feels victimized. But to justify the victimization, now she needs information to back up what she already feels. So it's actually in reverse. Once it's codified up here, it's already codified here. Now it's codified here. You are the enemy. And in that regard, she can and will look at you as if you destroyed her. That is why she can be cold, because she is cold. The amount of instances of women that attack their men, especially with weapons, because it's clearly shown that women are just as violent as men are physically. They are just as violent. They're just not as physically strong, but they are just as violent. The intention to hurt, you can even argue, is greater in women than men because they have less agency emotionally over their behavior. Okay, they are more likely to commit crimes of passion. That's borne out in the stats. Look it up. Do yourselves favors and look that information up. It exists out there. But they can do that because in their moments or their times of emotional distress and being hurt, they do not care about you. They don't care about your health. They don't care about your well-being. They don't care about your safety. And in those moments, they will suspend logic because they're not acting with logic. Okay? And in their mind, they just don't care. They don't give a damn because they are the victim. Doesn't matter what they do to you. In their mind, they're the victim because they were already victimized here. Even if what they believe isn't actually true, if they felt it was true, then up here it becomes true. That's how women work. That's why a woman has no problem destroying her marriage. That's why she has no problem breaking your heart. So your first girlfriend back in middle school, high school, she had no problem breaking your heart because in her mind, before she jumped at that other guy, she had already told herself that you did something wrong. It gave her the space, the emotional space to do you wrong. That's how women are. And that's just the truth. That's the truth. That's what I learned. So when you come across people, characters, people that claim to help or be advocates of men, like Miss or Mrs. Sloan here, I'm not saying her intentions are evil. I don't know her. I don't know any of that. But what I can say is that she clearly does not understand men, and that's a fact that actually most men need to accept. Most women in the Western world do not understand men. They don't know anything about us. They don't know what we value, what we stand for. They don't know how to attract us, keep us happy. That's just the world we live in, effectively, right? I heard some guy kind of put it very succinctly, and What he said was, men are taught how to treat women, not taught how women should treat them. And women are taught the reverse. Women are taught how men should treat them, not how to treat men. And that is 100% fact. But when we have this kind of one-way dynamic, what happens is one group is always held accountable and the other isn't. That is what's missing in today's therapy. That's why it misses the mark on why women, especially women, have no problem doing you wrong, be it stepping out on you or ending a 20-year marriage and destroying a family. Because there is no accountability. They were never taught anything about their male counterpart. Nothing. While in the meantime, we men are taught what to do for a woman, when to open a door for a woman, walk on her outside so she feels protected, so she feels safe. Never ask a woman her age. We can rattle off 10 different things of what we are supposed to do and not supposed to do. And a woman can't tell you not one thing. Not one thing, because she wasn't taught anything. And that's the point. That's why a woman can leave a man. She wasn't taught anything about men. To her, you're not even human. The only experience that matters is hers, not yours. And that's the cold, hard truth. Anyway, fellas, I don't like to leave it on a sad note, but sometimes that's just the way it is. That's life, right? Especially as a man. So it's up to us. It's up to you. Make your life better. Understand your place in it. I'm not saying you have to accept, mistreatment or accept being treated like less than human, but you need to understand the hostile forces that exist around you, and then you step accordingly. That's what I'm telling you, and that's what I'm teaching you. 6200 out. Married Man Advice 101.